Hello and welcome to How to Drink. Today I'm going to entreat you to my favorite drinks for summer. I am not a shirt, I'm a free man! I want to start things off right away with a dark and stormy. My notes also say dark and stormy / any mule because they are the same thing. Dark and Stormy is a brand-specific rum mule. That's what it is. If you really want to get weird about it, that's what it is, okay? You're going to build this in the glass. Dark and Stormy can go in any glass, in my humble opinion. If you're doing it as a mule, i.e. using vodka, you're supposed to put it in a copper mug. Some people, even I was once guilty of this, believe that there's some chemical interaction between the copper and the drink in it that changes it. No, and if there is, stop, because you're dying. That's called copper poisoning and you don't want it. There's a protective layer in there that stops that from happening so that you don't get heavy metal poisoning. And there's no interaction between the mug and the drink. It was just a marketing ploy that the guy at the Cock and Bull bar came up with to sell all of the copper mugs that his wife had in the basement. I think Stoley got involved in there too, and then they used Woody Allen in a bunch of commercials. It's a weird thing. All right, let's make a dark and stormy. I prefer rum to vodka, so I'm a dark and stormy fella. My wife is a mule lady, so you can be whatever you like to be in this mixed up crazy thing we call life. Let's get it going. Dude, this is the easiest thing in the world to make. You will need some ice. I briefly paused in my freezer to decide if this should be crushed ice or not. I don't think it matters, but we're gonna use a big ice cube. So I put that in there, boom, like that. Why not do it like that? Now I need a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce of lime juice. Not too much, not too little. I happen to be using super juice because I made a bunch for some friends over the other day. Super juice is a way of making extra juice from limes by using some things we know about chemistry. A lot of people, Kevin Koss has done a talk about this, and more recently Darcy O'Neill did a little video about it that I enjoyed both of. You should check out their videos on it. I think I did a video on it at one point or another, but it's a pretty cool thing. It's cool. It lets you get more out of the limes there. Anyway, 1/2 ounce of lime juice. I had a friend who told me that when he went to Bermuda, they told him that they don't use lime juice in a dark and stormy. The dark and stormy is associated very strongly with Bermuda because officially it's supposed to be made with Gosling's rum. Unofficially, we're using Gosling's today because I'm almost out of this bottle and I am looking forward to recycling it. There's nothing wrong with Gosling's rum, by the way, and it makes great dark and stormies. I'm going to enjoy this one thoroughly. It's just to say that, like, the rum that you like will work. You can use other rums, that's all. Get those 2 ounces of rum right in there. 2 ounces is kind of standard pour. You can use more, you can use less. It's your drink. You make it the way you like. I'm not a shirt, I'm a free man. And then you're gonna hit with some ginger beer. Once again, Gosling's is gonna say, hey, why don't you use our ginger beer? We make ginger beer. I just did a big ginger beer review. I liked Gosling's sorta, I didn't love it. I actually thought the Fever Tree was one of the better ones. Barrett's was quite nice, which is actually the more traditional Bermuda rum. I liked that enough that I'm now out of it. So we're gonna use Fever Tree today. I also think that you can use Reed's, is quite good. A lot of people on the internet were annoyed that I didn't make anything with Cock and Bull. You know what? I totally slipped my mind and I just didn't have any access to it easily. If I'd seen it in the grocery store, I certainly would have bought it. My bar spoon is in the kitchen right now, being I gotta go get it after I make this drink, so I'm just gonna use this metal straw to give this a quick stir. It doesn't matter what you stir a drink with. You can use a finger if you like. And that is a dark and stormy. Some people say that you should layer the drink, or at the very least serve the drink layered so that it looks like it's supposed to, I don't know, it's like a storm on the sea. I don't know, I just think it's silly. I don't think it's necessary, and even if you served it to me that way, I'm gonna wanna mix it together. And it's a delight. I feel better already. When you put rum and lime together and I smell them, I am hit with waves of vacation. They just wash over me. I'm somewhere wonderful. I'm in Key West again. You know, that's kind of my happy place. It just, ooh, yeah, wonderful thing. So it's kind of hard for me to go far wrong on a rum and lime-based drink. I'm trying to think of rum-based drinks that don't have any lime in them. There's a few. Use a halfway decent ginger beer, and you really can't miss with a dark and stormy, or a mule, if that's your persuasion. If you really want to break down ginger into its disparate parts, it has ginger flavor, which is actually apparently gingerol, which is the thing that makes ginger taste like ginger. But there's like more to ginger, right? Like it has elements of rooty very small amounts of bitterness. At least this does. I don't know. Maybe this was one of the ones that had a little bit more going on in it. Yeah, I don't know. But it has a little bit of rooty earthiness, right? Which, in the presence of a rum, in my opinion, can really bring something kind of new out of it. You know, you would think that this is just a drink that's like, okay, it's hot and gingery, and you hide some rum in it. But I think that there's a little bit more going on there, honestly. Not a lot more going on there. And frankly, it doesn't need to have a lot more going on in there. But if you really wanted to wax poetic about a dark and stormy, if you want me to, I probably could. It's kind of my job. I think it's one of the best drinks for summer because this is so basic. It's so easy to throw a dark and stormy together. And I do think that that is one of the things I'm going for here. I think that these summer drinks should be things that you can thoughtlessly make off the top of your head with a few ingredients, right? So we're going to try and keep it a little bit simple here today. I'm not looking at the list that I built a couple days ago in its entirety right now. I may contradict myself later. I'm not sure where this is going. I figured this one out a couple weeks ago, and I'm finally getting around to shooting it. So this is all a surprise to me, too. Well, so much for going to pick up takeout tonight. Ooh, yeah. Next up is one of my favorite drinks that I have very few of, honestly, is the Hemingway Daiquiri. This is a drink that was supposedly invented by, or invented for, Ernest Hemingway, supposedly because he had diabetes and he wanted something with less sugar in it than a normal daiquiri. I don't know how sweet he was making his daiquiris. Allegedly, he thought this was less sugar and thus acceptable for having diabetes. I don't even know if he had diabetes. Did Hemingway have diabetes? Get his doctor on the phone. I want to know. I need to talk to his proctologist and say it's a solid bet that Hemingway's proctologist is dead. Just facts. Everybody in the comments is going to be like, oh, I could tell Greg shot 2 or 3 this day. I'm stone cold sober, except for half a dark and stormy.
I am not a number. I am a free man.
Okay, we're going to start with some lime juice on this guy. 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. The Hemingway Daiquiri has so much more complexity, in my opinion, than a standard daiquiri. Standard daiquiri is one of my favorite drinks of all time. Almost went on this list. And it is one of the greatest drinks for summer, but I felt like, yeah, let's throw a twist in there. So 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. We want half an ounce of fresh grapefruit juice. I have heard and read a couple of different things, right? This is sometimes called a Papa Double, which was a Papa Double, because Hemingway liked his daiquiris to be doubled. I have heard also that the Papa Double is literally just a double daiquiri, and that the Hemingway Daiquiri is a different thing. I suppose you could order a Hemingway Daiquiri as a Papa Double if you wanted to. Some people are going to call this drink a Papa Double. Some people are going to call it a Hemingway Daiquiri. It's just something to keep in mind, right? Half an ounce of grapefruit juice, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. We want half an ounce of Maraschino Liqueur. I'll use the little bottle because it's a little easier to manage. That's kind of a lot of Maraschino, and that's where I'm saying, like, you think this drink is less sweet? I guess maybe a little. I don't know. And now I want 2 ounces of rum. Obviously, Hemingway would have been using Cuban Bacardi, but yeah, I can't get Cuban rum. I'm going to use Flor de Caña, which is good rum. I think it's the right kind of rum. Where does it come from? I mean, it's definitely a Spanish-style rum. Global Rum Producer of the Year. Family rum since 1890. They planted 800,000 trees. That's nice. Distilled using 100% green energy. Carbon neutral certified. That's like a big thing in the spirits industry, is that it's pretty carbon intense and not so great for the planet. I don't know that there's another outfit out there doing carbon neutral. If there are others that you know of, hit me in the comments, because maybe that's a whole episode we could do, is carbon neutral spirits or like environmentally conscious companies, kind of like a awareness thing for them. That'd be fun. All right, now here's where this gets a little tricky. I've had many bartenders serve me these, and when discussing the recipe, you're like, oh yeah, and I do throw a little sugar in there, because they can be pretty dry like this. I'm gonna make it this way, and then maybe I'll see if I wanna throw some sugar into the glass, okay? Let's get some ice in there. 1 big ice cube always for me, and some crushed up ice. Normally I just crack the ice with the bar spoon. Kind of famous for it. At least, well, reasonably well known. It's associated with me. But my bar spoon's in the other room, and I'm too lazy to go get it, and I happen to have this thing with crushed ice in it, so we'll just do that now. I'm a free man. Shake it up. I'm gonna make a little lime wheel for a garnish. Just take this, slice that off. There we go. Couple lime wheels. I just tossed this into the freezer. I really should have let it get colder. Strain that in there. Looking nice. Put a lime wheel on the edge. You really don't have to do that. It's purely optional in my opinion, but hey, why not? And the sun also rises, huh? Apparently, that is about erectile dysfunction. I never read that book. I'm not a fan of Hemingway. I mean, you know, I really should try to read some Hemingway. Last time I tried it was in high school. I was not in. All right, here we go. Hemingway Daiquiri. So right away, you get this amazing maraschino smell, which I just love in drinks. It's such a wonderful, sweet, almondish, almond floral kind of smell. This drink is almost perfectly balanced. It's a little dry. It's not too dry to be enjoyable. It's way less dry than gin and tonic, for example. It's not nearly as sweet as your standard daiquiri. And I'm not talking about a frozen blender daiquiri. I mean like a traditional classic shooken. If you're expecting a daiquiri, you're gonna want a drink that's a little bit drier than this. It also has a little bit less acidity, in my humble opinion, than a standard daiquiri with just a full ounce of lime juice. The grapefruit juice is more bitter than acidic. And the bitterness is well balanced here. The maraschino does a really good job of balancing the bitterness. The acidity would like a little bit more sweetness, in my opinion, which is why it's worth adding a bar spoon of simple to this on occasion, or maybe 2 bar spoons. Not a lot, just a little drop. Overall, flavor profile, maraschino is up front and center. And that's this almondy kind of woodsy, herbal, not very herbal, almondish kind of vibe. So many people haven't had maraschino yet, so it's hard to explain. Maraschino is a very unique flavor. And when I say it's almondy, it's made from cherries, but it's made from pits and stems and leaves, and also the actual flesh of the cherries, but not exclusively. So it's hard to say it's cherry flavored. It does present a little bit more almond-like than like a cherry liqueur, for example. It's nothing like cherry hearing, which would also be an interesting daiquiri. Much drier, much more reserved, much more almondish, much more herbal kind of flavor. Still a liqueur, still sweetened. And that is suffused throughout the drink. And it's riding on top of this bed of bitterness. So it's almost like your nose, you're getting one olfactory response, the flavor aroma component, right? The secondary component that's happening at the same time is this bitterness response, which is what your tongue does, right? So like your tongue is really just picking up on like 4 or 5 main flavor components, while the rest of a flavor is coming from your olfactory response, and you're getting this kind of dichotomy between the two here. The rum, not super present in this drink, actually, as it probably shouldn't be. You know, in a daiquiri, you're kind of crushing up on that rum. I do love a daiquiri made with a non-standard rum, but it's not really a rum-forward drink. It's a sour. It's a lime and sugar-forward drink with rum in it. Same thing here. I want to throw a little bit of sweetness in this now. Oh, and it goes without saying, it is dry and bright and very refreshing, right? That bitterness, that tartness, that lends it into that very refreshing kind of territory. On a hot day, this is not a drink that's going to weigh you down. There's not a lot of heavy kind of sweetness in it. But let's give it a little sweetness with my straw and see how that comes up. Yeah, that's better though, because that gives it a longer flavor profile. It brings out more of the maraschino. It brings out more of the grapefruit. It's like the salt in a dinner. It's like the salt in your soup, right? Like you can't really taste that minestrone soup if you don't put a pinch of salt in it. Your mouth doesn't work that way. Without that little pinch of salt in a minestrone soup or whatever you're cooking, you gotta have it. You can't really taste it. It's a huge part of your ability to perceive flavor. The sugar does the same thing. It helps a lot in this drink. It really kind of gives a little bit more evolution, a little bit more meat to the flavor profile. It brings them out and it lets them last, and it lets you really spend some time with it. And it also rounds off the edges a little. God, that's a good drink. Those are so much fun. They have this like note at the end that kind of comes up as like the maraschino is sort of lingering. That grapefruit maraschino combos. Woo. Next drink for my best drinks of summer is the Whiskey Smash. But before I get onto that, I do want to talk to you about today's sponsor, you beautiful patrons on my Patreon. That's right. How to Drink is supported in large part by a Patreon account. And I'm going to put a link up here and down there and all of the other places that links go if you want to check that out. If you love the show and you would like to see the show keep going and you just want a little bit more extra How to Drink and you would like me to be able to say no to some sponsors from time to time, check it out. Maybe there's something over there for you. We have a private Discord that is a really cool community, very positive group. Yes, they talk about drinks, but also they just talk about everything, and I'm in there and I'll bounce ideas for episodes off you, and I'll talk about behind the scenes stuff all the time. Analytics, all that jazz. There's exclusive content. There are, you know, vlogs and things that are about what's going on the show and all that. And also, of course, episodes of How to Drink There get posted without ads. Ads are turned off. We also do pins every quarter that are like inside jokes about the show. I don't know that there's enough of them out there for people to start running into each other with pins on. I hope that happens soon. I want that to happen. But we do pins every quarter with references from the show, fun, silly things. If any of that or all of that sounds of interest to you, why don't you check out my Patreon and consider supporting How to Drink so that I can keep making this show. And thank you to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much. You know, this episode will continue on my Patreon. All right, let's make a whiskey smash. I haven't had a whiskey smash in a very long time, and I'm quite looking forward to this. So, to make a whiskey smash, I'm gonna start with wedging up a lemon. That sounds filthy. I don't know why, but that sounds like some kind of a weird sex move. Wedging up a lemon. It does though, right? Not just to me. I'm not weird. Am I weird? I think we all thought the same thing, right? Whew. Man, I'm like 2 drinks in and I don't know what the hell I'm slaughtering this lemon. I have no idea. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm doing here. Wow. We have parts of lemon. That's all that matters. Sometimes you can build these in the glass. I'm gonna shake it and dump it in the glass. So let's put 4 wedges in there. You can use 3, you can use more, whatever. That's half a lemon basically, which should translate, if juiced, to about ½ ounce of lemon juice. We want 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup goes right directly into my tin. 3/4 of an ounce. 2 ounces of bourbon. You know, over the life of the show, I've acquired many a bottle of bourbon, and I keep hanging on to the cheap ones. Today we're using Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. It's fine. So let's get 2 ounces of it. I have all these cheap bourbons hanging around, and it's just like, what am I gonna use them for? I gotta start using them. I need room on the shelves for more expensive bourbons. I tell you, as I've gotten older, my taste for bourbon has kind of waned. I'm really becoming a rum man. We're gonna throw some mint in there. How much mint should you throw in? The answer is, how minty do you want the drink? I like things pretty minty. I'm gonna throw all of this in there at a minimum. Perfect. Yeah, that's probably enough, actually. My notes say 4 mint leaves, but here's the thing. Mint leaves come in different sizes, and you don't have to use 4. So, you know, sometimes things like ingredients really should be to taste. Add simple to taste. Add bitters to taste. I'm gonna say add mint to taste, okay? A lot of times at this point, you might muddle this and then stir it over ice. I'm just gonna shake the whole thing and dump it, because if I do that, I don't need to muddle, and it'll be colder, and there's really just no reason not to. One big, crack this guy up. You gotta tell some jokes, crack it up. I'm a dad. Really crack me up. Really trying to pulverize everything for me. Get your glass out. I'm gonna do a ½ a gate pour because there's a huge cube in there I might not want in my glass. Nah, just take it. Oh God. This is the wrong glass. It's the wrong glass, but that's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I've made the ugliest whiskey smash I've ever seen, but that doesn't matter. It's still gonna taste great. It matters a little. We have a problem. Hold on. I think I want to get a straw. Throw a straw in there, for Christ's sake. Jeez, what we got going on here? Those are so good. I always find that mint juleps are really heavy. They're syrupy, they're heavy, they're thick. They're not actually refreshing. They're not bright. They don't lift up. They got no lift. They kind of drag you down. This is not that. The addition of the lemon, the reduction of the sweetness, because mint juleps, in my experience, are very sweet. The whole thing is just kind of rebalanced, and it's better. I made the ugliest one I've ever seen. Friggin' muddle this in the glass and build it on top of your crushed parts so that you don't have something that looks like a swamp. Do as I say, not as I do. It'll be delicious either way, though. The lemon and bourbon notes together, they awaken these charred peanut caramel notes. I guess corn is in there. I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if I can pull corn as a flavor out of there, but I'm assuming it's a component of the gestalt of flavors that I'm experiencing. Sweetness, of course, rounds it all off, brings it all together, and the mint, oh, mint is such a wonderfully cooling flavor, you know, in such good balance here, the mint and the lemon and the sweet and the bourbon. And it's funny too, because like off the top of your head, you don't think that mint and lemon work together. You think mint and lime maybe, because of mojitos and other cocktails. but mint and lemon work really well together. It's kind of like if you took a mint julep and a whiskey sour and smashed them together. All of the summery, sweet mintiness of the julep with the snapping lemon liftiness of the sour and the distant smoke. Not like Scotch smoke, but like a sweet kind of smoke, like hickory smoked barbecue. Oh, of the bourbon. And that's just a cheap bourbon. You don't need a great bourbon to make a whiskey smash. I don't even think it would benefit. I think just use Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. Be fine. I don't know how much summer I got left in me. I got a few more drinks to go. I felt like gin needed to be represented on here. I got my whiskey and I've got a lot of rum. Rum is the spirit of summer, in my humble opinion. I think we got to get some gin in here. You might be saying, but what about vodka, Greg? Go back to the Dark and Stormy and make yourself a mule instead. Vodka imparts no flavor into a drink. It is neutral grain spirits. Therefore, anything you already like that is non-alcoholic, you can simply make it alcoholic by adding vodka. Maybe rebalancing a little bit because you've just thinned out the flavors. I don't really think it's worth spending a whole lot of time on vodka-based cocktails. Okay. So let's make one of the classic summer drinks. Of course, we're talking about a gin and tonic. I feel almost weird making this. I will not be upset if you decide to skip this section. A gin and tonic has 2, mayhaps 3 ingredients in it. And I'm gonna add a little lime juice to mine. Build it in the glass. Wait till you see how easy this is. No, I mean, they are easy to make. Get yourself a decent tonic. I happen to think that Fever Tree tonic water is fine. If you want to make a tonic syrup or buy Tomer's tonic syrup, which I'm all out of, you can, that's wonderful stuff. It is really great. The thing about a gin and tonic is it's not like your usual spirit mixer drink. Your usual spirit mixer drink is like a pour of spirit, like 2 ounces of spirit, 5 ounces, 6 ounces of mixer. In a gin and tonic, it's much closer to 1-to-1. Tonic has a big, loud, bitter flavor, okay? It's the quinine. It's made from the bark of the cinchona tree. And if you put 5 ounces of tonic with 2 ounces of gin, you're gonna have kind of a bad time. In a lot of ways, and this is true of the way that the origin of the drink, the mixer in a gin and tonic is the gin, not the tonic. The gin and tonic comes from ye olden times when the British Empire was in control of India, and they were sending soldiers and sailors down there, and they wanted to prevent them from getting malaria. They made them take quinine or tonic, and they didn't like it. So they adulterated it with gin to make it better tasting. So really, you have to think about a gin and tonic where it's a spirit mixer drink, but the spirit is the tonic and the gin is the mixer. So you're much closer to, or even exactly at 1-to-1, which means that you might have a 4-ounce drink that's 2 ounces of tonic and 2 ounces of gin, perfectly acceptable. Or, you know, if you want 6 ounces of tonic, you're probably gonna pour 5 or 6 ounces of gin in there. In which case, I hope you don't have a whole lot planned for the day. Let's get some ice in here and start building this drink. I'm doing crushed ice. I don't think there's any reason not to. There we go. So I'm going to actually measure my tonic. Of course, I could have done this in parts by watching, but we're gonna measure. So we're gonna do 3 ounces of tonic. Twist of lime, or rather a squeeze from a wedge of lime, is of course welcome. You could also use a 1/4 ounce of lime juice, maybe as much as a half. It's a 1/4. So I've got 3 ounces of my tonic. I'm actually gonna add 2 ounces of gin, Tanqueray London Dry Gin. Yes, I might increase this pour in a moment. And that's a gin and tonic. Full disclosure, gin and tonic is not my favorite drink. I don't hate them. In a year, I may have 2 to 4 gin and tonics. Let's put it that way. But that is lovely. They are bone dry. There's no hint of sweetness here. And I've never seen it done, and I'm not gonna do it now. But frankly, I wouldn't fault somebody who added a little simple, you know, a 1/4 ounce or something to a gin and tonic to sweeten it up. Your tonic waters are all gonna have different levels of sweetness in it. When I make these with like Tomer's tonic syrup, it does register a little bit more sweet than this. And every gin and tonic fan whom I have ever made a gin and tonic for using Tomer's has told me it was like the best gin and tonic of their life. And I think a big part of it is that it's sweeter. So I think if you like it a little sweeter, add some sweetness to it. You're not gonna hurt the drink. And if you're worried about your sugar intake while you're having high-proof cocktails, I got news for you. Health has gone out the window. We don't need to worry about it. Just embrace your vice. Gotta have a little vice in this life. But it is bright and bitter and uniquely tonic-y, right? Tonic water is made from cinchona, which is one of the primary bittering agents that we know of, so to speak, the other being gentian. There's a couple of others, wormwood is one. So it's bitter and it's earthy and it's rooty and it's got this kind of a tang to it, and it's a little bit of lime juice. It's got some bite, it's got some sass. The gin brings in this bright, piney, juniper-y note, these botanicals, these high note florals, and actually the whole thing works together to be pretty balanced. Very refreshing. It's not a heavy drink. It's not a highly sweetened drink that's gonna kind of drag you down or put you to bed. That's the thing about a lot of summer drinks, is that they probably shouldn't be too sweet. A little sweetness, sure, but you don't want to like just you don't want to have like, you know, a big sweet thing knocking you on your butt. That's why it's one of the best drinks of summer though, because of all those things I just said, whatever they were. Let's, just for fun, I'm curious. I've never done this, but what would it be like if I just threw a small amount of sugar in there? That bar spoon of sugar does a lot for it. It brings the lime up, makes the lime taste like lime, lets the tonic kind of come in behind that instead of in front of it. That's so neat to me. It gives your tongue something to chase. It feels like you're chasing this flavor profile down. Just that bar spoon, it changes the whole thing in a lot of ways. Man, it makes me wonder if you could rebalance the gin and tonic with some like Amaros or the right liqueur, you know, just turn it into a 3-ingredient drink. Gin, tonic, one other thing. I'm gonna hold off on that idea. I don't think we're gonna do that right now. And in fact, I'm gonna go for something a little sweeter to cleanse my palate. Yes, that'll do it. Whew! Let me clean up. Greg's getting drunk. Back to what I was saying before about people thinking this will be the second or third episode of the day for Greg. Greg is a hell of a lightweight, especially anymore. I'm on epilepsy medication. My doctor told me, yeah, you can drink on that. That's fine. You're gonna be a cheap date. All right, let's make a Paloma. I adore a Paloma, but, and this might be the gringo in me, I'm not a big fan of the traditional Paloma, which is pretty much squirt or Jarritos grapefruit soda mixed with tequila and maybe a twist of lime juice. Not a big fan of that. That to me is too sweet, doesn't really taste like grapefruit. I want something that tastes like grapefruit. Bright, fresh, tart, sour grapefruit in my Paloma. Then you got something that'll stand up to some mezcal instead of just tequila. For the reference, all tequilas are mezcals. Not all mezcals are tequila. Squares and rectangles, my friends. Squares and rectangles. So let's make what I will call a fresh Paloma. And I'm gonna be blunt here. There's no like hard rules about how to make what I'm gonna call this drink a fresh Paloma. I'm kind of winging it. I got notes up there. And I think that you should be able to wing just about any of these summer drinks. I think you should be able to make them standing on your deck while the burgers are grilling and the sun is in your eyes and you're not thinking too hard. I'm gonna start by putting my ice into my glass. All right, let's start with a ½ ounce of lime juice. Let's do 3/4 of an ounce of simple. No reason to punish ourselves. Simple syrup to taste. Let's do 3 or 4 ounces of grapefruit juice. 3½, why not? 2 ounces of mezcal. Feel free to split that with something like a less smoky mezcal. Use tequila if you want. I happen to really like the mezcal in this. It's funny too. I was never much of a mezcal guy until pretty recently, and I'm really starting to like mezcal. Really like what it does in a cocktail. I'm gonna give that a stir. We're gonna put some seltzer in there to fizz it up. There's an argument to be made that I should have just added water and directly carbonated the whole drink. That's a great idea. Not doing that. It's not very accessible for most people. Top it up. I think I was about 4 or 5 ounces of seltzer in that. Give it a quick scrape there with the old spoon and throw a straw in it that's been on set all day. What a refreshing drink. What a beautiful drink. It is, oh my God. Grapefruit, leather, salt, and smoke. That just lingers, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. Now I'm getting that salty, smoky, leathery note in my nose, just kind of hanging out. The grapefruit is providing this sweet, tart bitterness. It's bright, it's alive. Oh, it's so good. What a wonderful drink the Paloma is. a fantastic drink for summer. One of my absolute favorites. I really don't know how you can improve upon a well-made Paloma. It is just a joy. You know, a dash of salt. Here is some saline solution. This is probably 10%, 20%. A couple dashes of that in there. That can really help wake up your grapefruit notes. A little salt in the drink. Yeah, do that. And at this point, you've got, I think, sort of the bedrock of a drink. I think we can take this into new directions. I think we could put half an ounce of chinola in there and add some passion fruit notes to this. I think you could throw some mint in there and add that so that when you sip the drink, you get mint notes. That's a really nice idea. I think you could take Bitterman's Elamacule Tiki Bitters and make this into some kind of a weird hybrid that has sort of Polynesian tiki vibes smashed into Mexico vibes. Lovely, absolutely lovely. Like putting some of the spiced notes of Coca-Cola into the drink. Elamacule Tiki Bitters shares a lot of flavor profile with sort of the core components of Coca-Cola, in my opinion. I don't really know what goes into it. They keep all that stuff secret. But to me, there's like a lot of overlap in the flavor profile. And there you have it. That's my favorite drinks for summer. A gin and tonic, a Paloma, a whiskey smash, a delight. The Hemingway Daiquiri for when you're feeling a little bit fancy and you want to put a little bit more labor into the drink. And of course, the Dark and Stormy. If you're saying, but Greg, what about a Pimm's cup? To me, that's a spring drink, and I'm not a big fan of them. Greg, what about a Mai Tai? That's an all year round drink, and I'm a huge fan of them, and I've done them in a couple of episodes recently. Greg, what about a Queen's Park Swizzle? That's a delight of a drink. Probably should have been in this list. I might do it over on my Patreon. So if you're into this and you want to see more, click the link below over here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time. I'll be back very soon with another episode of How to Drink. Until then, good night and good luck.